Well, good evening, Brian. Welcome to the Pathway to Adventure Council Advancement Committee presentation on special needs scouting. I'm Dave Leahy. I am one of the co-chairs for the Special Needs uh, Committee for the council, along with Colleen, my wife. Colleen, you want to introduce yourself? And
I think you pretty much summed it up there.
all right, we are involved in all kinds of different things in council, so in the district. So you might see our names around with a few other things, but we may as well get started with the presentation. If you do, obviously you're the only one on the call right now. So if you have any questions as we go forward, certainly this does not have to be very formal. We can be answering any questions you might have. All right, well, hold on one second, I gotta get rid of that. Clean up my screen so I can see things. Um, we're here to just talk a little bit about the advancement for scouts with disabilities, and I just thought we'd start with the quote from Lord Baden-Powell, which was written in the 1930s, that scouting helped by giving scouts with disabilities an opportunity to prove to themselves and to others that they can do things and difficult things too for themselves. And as I said, that was from Lord Baden-Powell way back in the 1930s. So scouting with for folks with special needs has been around for quite some time. So our objective for tonight is to just try and provide an overview of what the Scouting for Special Needs is here in the Pathway to Adventure Council, and what it means to any unit or individuals for advancement, and how we can help you with getting the scout to where they want to be. So why scouting for youth with disabilities? It has value for all scouts. It doesn't just help that scout with special needs. It promotes growth and empathy for all the scouts involved. It obviously, we all know that scouting teaches a lot of skills and gives kids leadership skills and skills they don't even know they're learning because they're having so much fun. It also provides a broader association for those that get involved and have the opportunity to do and use those skills in other ways. We are more alike than we are different, and rather than looking at individuals with their differences, it's always better to look at uh, what they are, just like the rest of us. And quite honestly, every one of us and every one of those youth are no different. They all want to be successful, be accepted, both emotionally and socially, by everyone that they're around, their peers, the unit, their adults that are around them. They just want everything else every one of us want. And in that, uh, we believe that every scout deserves a leader who exemplifies the scout oath and the scout law. And with someone who has special needs, that might take a little bit more time and a little bit more effort, but it certainly has its benefits. It always helps to be more passionate about scouting. Kyle, you want to take this from here?
Sure. When we're talking about a disability, I think very often people focus on people with physical disabilities, something that they can point to and say, aha, I know that that person is, using a cane, they have crutches, they have a brace on their leg, they're wearing glasses. Those are things that we can all see. But disabilities fall into quite a wide range of categories, everything from physical to invisible disabilities, such as learning disabilities, including ADHD. Their autism falls into that. The cognitive and developmental can be anything from Down syndrome to something more complex. And a lot of the disabilities, Dave, could you mute? Thank you. We are doing this presentation from, I'm still echoing. Okay. Um, it's still going through in an echo chamber for me.
I am not seeing.
It's up on under your picture. It's right in there. If you hover over your own picture, there you go. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, the emotional and social piece are kind of an overlay of all of the different disabilities. We find those pieces in every kind of disability that I've encountered. And there's so many things out there that we accommodate. And one of the things in here doesn't specifically even call out can be disabilities that include things like, what somebody can eat, what kind of sensory input they're able to tolerate. So it's quite a wide range of different things that impact our scouts, but it's not just our scouts. It's very often, their caregivers, their unit leaders, the other scouts in their unit may also be suffering from different types of disabilities, and being able to look at that whole picture and adapt to it. Go ahead. Thank you. So in terms of what the special needs committee offers is we have a special needs champion in every one of the districts. So that should be your go-to person to be able to get support for any of the challenges that you're facing with accommodations or strategies for scouts with special needs. The idea is that you shouldn't have to do this alone. Nobody should have to do this solo. And I guarantee you that whatever you're experiencing might feel very unique in the moment. There's somebody somewhere that has experienced something similar that we can tap into and offer some guidance and support to find a solution for that scout. So those champions, we are collaborating with your family, the unit leaders, the participants themselves in some cases. But the idea is to try to find a path for them through the traditional scouting journey. And in many ways, that is a creative approach that will help you craft for that scout. We do recommend that you're proactive in this approach. A lot of units have started adopting a form that that we have come across that is, it's essentially asking for all of the tips and tricks that you have that will motivate your scout. Now, the idea is that for the new unit coordinator to take this form, and as kids are joining the unit, find out what motivates them. What are their obstacles in their path? What's their best learning style? Every scout is going to have something that is going to be a roadblock and something that's going to motivate them. So it doesn't matter whether they have disability or not. There's always a preferred route, and there are different forms and strategies that we can offer that will help you lay the groundwork so that you can get ahead of it and not have to chase after it and find out, from a parent, exactly why a scout isn't thriving. It's easier to find out a baseline and then adapt from that than to chase after it. In terms of mentoring these scouts, as we mentioned, that there's a district champion in every district that will be available to you to meet with your leaders and parents and even the scouts themselves. And pardon me, Dave, I'm going to have you take this because I'm in the work zone.
Understood. All right. Sorry about our dogs in the background there, but certainly in regards to mentoring, we want to make sure that we are supporting leaders and in the units in any way we can so that they feel comfortable in presenting the program of scouting to all of their youth in their program. Obviously, utilizing praise for all of scouts is a good thing, and you want to encourage that everyone is involved with things that are going on. If there are issues you can encourage the parents to join in the conferences with the scouts and even bring the scouts in with the champions so that they can explain some of their own needs if they're comfortable enough to do so. Obviously, age is something that may or maturity may be as an issue for somebody to self advocate for themselves, but it certainly is something that we want to encourage, just like we do with the rest of the scouts. So I don't know if you guys are aware that the Guide to Advancement has been updated for 2025. It literally just came hot off the press within the last few days.
Monday.
And this is a chart that comes directly out of chapter 10, which is in regards directly to advancement for scouts with special needs. So I thought this was a nice one to at least share with the differences between accommodations versus modifications. And certainly, if possible, we would, for everybody, I believe, would prefer that we make accommodations rather than modifications. And here's part of the reasons why. When you're talking about accommodations, we're talking about how you are presenting any learning skill in scouting, be it a merit badge or just any type of knot tying or swimming, any of those types of activities, whereas a modification is actually changing what you are learning. It could be that you're changing the merit badge because they are incapable of doing certain things under that might be required for a certain merit badge. But for something like hiking, if a scout is ambulatory in a wheelchair, a hike can be done while in a wheelchair. Doesn't say that's the way they get around, that's the way they can hike. That is an accommodation, certainly not a modification. And those types of accommodations can be made at the unit level rather than by the advancement team, whereas modifications must, and that word must is capitalized, be approved and brought through the council advancement committee. So there's obviously paperwork and things involved with when that gets done. And it is documented so that there isn't an issue if that scout goes to achieve the rank of Eagle and somebody questions how could they have gotten a certain task or merit badge if they can only do certain things. So go ahead, Kyle, if you want to take over some more, or are you all set?
Yeah, we seem to have a lull in the barking. So National provides a number of tools that are available to us, and they have something that's called the Inclusion Toolbox. We're going to give some, at the end of this presentation, there's going to be some hyperlinks that you could copy down that will allow you to get there. But if you put in BSA Inclusion Toolbox into a Google search, you're going to end up with a whole package of tools that are available for you that they've already put there for your disposal. The training materials that you could use at a unit level to help, strategize and shore up the program that you're already offering. There are some recommendations that they've put together for adapting activities, as Dave mentioned, like the hiking with, if you've got somebody that's ambulatory using a wheelchair, that's one thing. But there are other things in there in terms of, let's say you have a scout that can't do paper and pencil tasks. Well, there are adaptive devices. Some of them are built right into your computer for voice to text. So they would be able to, document whatever they needed to document for a merit badge using voice to text. So there's suggestions like that. Again, going back to nobody should have to reinvent the wheel. Now, the final thing on here addresses the guides for an individual, it's actually an individual scout advancement plan is what an ISAP stands for. And that's used in the instance where you have a scout that simply cannot go through the advancement as it is laid out in the Scout handbook. So if you have a scout, for instance, that just can't manage the swimming piece, and you've tried and you've tried and you've used all sorts of different strategies, and that scout has stalled out and they're getting discouraged and they have a documented disability, you could use this ISAP to come up with accommodations. Now, this is something that you would use in tandem with your special needs champion. They'd help you fill out this form. It requires all sorts of documentation, a doctor's note. There's going to be statements from the parent. There's going to be a spot for you to include any materials from the school on what kind of challenges they're facing there that might relate to what you're having challenges with in terms of advancement. But the idea is that you compile all of this and submit it to the Council Advancement Committee, and they would then review that information and determine whether or not they could authorize an alternate plan for a scout to make it to through the advancement. Now, an ISAP is only going to take you up through first class. So any accommodations through first class is done by that document. Anything after that point is goes through a different route, which we'll talk about in a moment. Again, as part of the national offerings, there is something that is called the Abilities Digest, and it's a quarterly publication where they have all sorts of inspirational articles, strategies that have worked for different people, like real in the trenches kind of information that you can take back to your unit, to your scouts, and kind of add it to your own personal toolbox of things that you can try if you've got a scout that's struggling through a traditional path through scouting. So again, lots of information that National has put together, and I would definitely recommend reading through some of them, because some of the things are a lot more simple than you might imagine. It's just a new way of viewing the information.
I apologize for hitting the advance. I didn't mean to.
Okay, that's okay.
The one thing I wanted to add about this is if you go on that ablescout.org website, they actually have archived information there from, I believe, 2013 on, of all of the different digests that have been out there. So there's all kinds of information available to help you and all your others deal with situations that you may think is completely unique to your scout. There's somebody out there who's already had some of the same challenge that you can utilize. So something to just to think about in the context of scouting with youth with disabilities. We know there is 1 in 5 kids diagnosed with some type of disability out there right now. That's in the general population. So you can expect that exists even in scouting, right? Are we really out there doing what we can to help those scouts achieve what they need to or want to within scouting? And are we losing out on scouts who may not realize that they can be supported and that scouting is for them? So that's what I guess I would ask is that every one of us try to think about as we're out trying to recruit for new scouts, and what we are doing as part of our program.
Before we move on to this, one of the things that I would just like to share a short anecdote. A lot of what we're sharing is the nuts and bolts of how the mechanics of how you would get through advancement. I just wanted to share a personal story. Dave and I got into this because we have a scout with special needs. He's an adult. He's 28 years old now. And at the time that he was going through his advancement, he didn't have these supports in place other than a really core group of people that wanted to see him succeed. It was very important to him personally to be an Eagle. He has a whole bunch of cousins that are Eagles, and he set that goal for himself, and there were definitely some roadblocks in his path. But one summer, he had set a goal for himself to go to camp, and he had wanted to do the 3 of the different water merit badges, the aquatics merit badges. So he had rowing, small boat sailing, and canoeing. And each one of those required that you turtle the boat as part of the merit badge. And at that time, he was a swimmer, but didn't know one of his diagnoses, he doesn't really know where he exists in space. His spatial awareness is very poor. So we didn't really see this going well. And our scoutmaster, who has a very strong background in water instruction, he used to be a waterfront director years ago, decided that he was going to go down to the waterfront every day during the period of time that our son had this merit badges set out. And for instance, on the day that he had to turtle his sailboat, he swam out into the middle of the lake. He couldn't be on the boat with them, but he swam out into the middle of the lake and treaded water for the duration of the class and coached him through, like, okay, what I need you to do is take your right foot and throw it over the edge of the boat. No, your other right foot, because he was really, our son was very struggling with the being able to go through the piece by piece elements that made up the merit badge. And with somebody coaching him, he was able to successfully do it. And the thing is, he's the type of learner that once he does it, he'll be able to do it again, but he can't just watch somebody do it and be able to model that same behavior. But the thing is, for our scoutmaster, for each one of these merit badges, he did the same thing. He ran out, he swam out into the middle of the lake, and the poor guy had to be exhausted at the end of the day because he was treading water so much. But the thing is that there were so many people in scouting that saw that our son had set this goal and tried to find creative ways to help him achieve those goals that he has set for himself. And that's what makes this a beautiful thing, is there's so many different paths to get to the same destination. Everybody doesn't have a straight line, and finding the right supports along the way to support these kids in achieving their goals is really what we're after. So anyway, thank you for letting me share my story.
Thanks, Colleen. So we'll go back to here are, as we talked about earlier, there are a number of different paths to supporting advancement. We just talked a little bit about alternate rank requirements. There certainly is every one of these, if you Google them, they will pop right up. But the hyperlinks in this PowerPoint will be available to anybody who would like to get it. We and your champion certainly has ready access to every one of these too. So alternate rank requirements, as Colleen talked about, would be something that you could request and could be approved based upon what the needs of that individual scout may be. And as far as Eagle merit badge, obviously we all know that there are required merit badges for the rank of Eagle, and if for some reason that a scout is incapable of completing a specific merit badge, we cannot modify anything in a merit badge. So they allow for the advancement team to use different merit badges as long as it is something that is equally challenging for that scout, is what the baseline is for that.
And hasn't yet been earned.
Yes.
So it has to be a merit badge that they haven't already undertaken.
Yeah, it's right. You cannot substitute something after the fact. Thank you for that clarification. And certainly participation beyond the age of eligibility was something that it was very big during COVID because of the circumstances that existed there. And certainly with somebody with special needs, there is circumstances for even somebody who may have had a serious accident or something that impacted an illness that impacted their ability for a given length of time, that they can request the participation beyond the age of eligibility and earn the Eagle as if they were still working in it as a youth.
I'd just like to add that with the new requirements or the new guide to advancement that came out on Monday, it does further restrict who is available to register beyond the age of eligibility. It it calls out certain things that, you know, it has to be a permanent disability and that certain requirements need to be met to be considered for the registration beyond the age of eligibility. So that's something that, because it's so fresh off the presses, we really haven't had a lot of time to absorb and really kick the tires, if you will, on this and how it's going to apply to future applications for that. But, you know, just be aware that that has changed. So if you were considering this for a scout that you're supporting, just make sure you're looking at the requirements as they exist for 2025 and not a previous version.
And in looking through the whole guide to advancement, which I would highly recommend that everyone have readily accessible. It is available electronically for 2025. It is out there to look through it and read through it and understand it. I think that what they've done nicely is clarify quite of the ambiguity that existed previously. I think they've done a pretty nice job on it. And certainly it's going to take some getting used to, but I think they did a good job with it. All right, we did talk a little bit about the individual scout advancement plan. For those that are familiar with the IEPs for students with plans at school, that's pretty much the ISAP is the scouting version of it, and you can take a lot of the information directly off an IEP and put it on an ISAP to help lay out that out. But there is definite paperwork that has to be completed, and certainly documentation from somebody, a professional, either medical, psychological, or other, whatever the case may be that's needed. And there is all the documentation is there. There are lots of resources available. The National Special Needs Scouting Committee is always available. They have we will show an email address, I guess, in the next couple slides, but there are plenty of resources available for training purposes and for just knowledge of how things can be handled. There is also roundtables that occur, just like within your districts. There is a National Special Needs and Disability Roundtable that anybody is welcome to register for. It's a Zoom meeting that we just had one a couple weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, and it really is at least from my viewpoint, very beneficial and good information to learn about. And the Inclusion Toolbox has all kinds of information as to how you can make things more accessible and usable for those with all different kinds of special needs. As I mentioned earlier, the Able Scouts, that website has a lot of archived articles from their journals that you can look back. I believe it is to 2013 or 2010, one of those two. And if you want to register and get that digest sent to you when they publish it quarterly, you can go on the website and subscribe to it, and it'll get sent right to your email. There are plenty of things out there in the social media world. We at Pathway to Adventure do have a Facebook presence and our Special Needs Scouting. Colleen monitors that and tries to post what we can for information.
And I do post the National Roundtable. I will post whenever that comes up. So you don't have to dig around for it and try to find it. I will put the registration on there in case you want to join that.
And then obviously the National Council also has a No Scout Left Behind Guide to Working with Scouts with Disabilities. That's a national Facebook page. Always great information out there. Instagram exists too. I can't say that I've been on the Instagram site too much, so I can't speak to that a lot. You can actually email the National Committee Chair with that email address down at the bottom there. They are responsive. We've worked with them to get quite a few different things. We've built a relationship with the national office quite a bit. And
Yeah, they're super responsive.
I have to say, give PTAC some kudos. We are quite ahead of the curve when it comes to the special needs committee and having somebody available in every district. It saw it as something, and they have all jumped on board and certainly want it to be a successful adventure for any scout that wants to participate. I have a video here. It is about, I want to say 8 or 9 minutes long, but I thought it was worthwhile to put this on. So I thought I'd throw this out here. It looks like we've got plenty of time, unless some people had lots of questions. I'll give it a second here if somebody has some questions they want to ask right now before I play the video. But this video of Tyler he is a scout out of Iowa that did this as part of his Eagle Project. And I'll leave it at that to let the video play if nobody has any questions. Hearing none, we'll play the video and we'll be back at the end. Oh. Huh. Colleen says you guys cannot hear the audio.
It's not coming through for me.
Correct. I can't hear it either.
Well, I guess then we won't watch the video. I will make sure that you all have the link for that video. I'd highly recommend that you can go Google that too.
You can drop it in the chat, Dave.
I will do that. Give me a minute and I'll drop that into the chat. We'll move on for now and I'll get the chat. We are just about finished, and in conclusion, I'd like all of you to think about your scouting experience and think about the units in your district and yours in particular. And how inclusive are you? Are we doing everything we can to serve every scout that exists in our units now and future scouts that we could get? And how can we take a look and change our individual approaches to prepare other leaders and ourselves to support every scout in today's programs? Well, that concludes the presentation. email address down there on the bottom, sns@pathwaytoadventure.org, comes directly to us. So we are here for you guys at any time. Do you guys have any further questions of us? I'm going to stop sharing.
You know what, let's, we can stop the recording because some people might not want to ask a question while the recording's going. So I am going to stop that.